What is the illusion of wealth? Do you know how much money you have? You will feel strange. Can you still not know how much money you have? Yes, look at it from a certain angle. You really don't know. Now we have to calculate one person's money. The most common ones are to look at housing and deposits. And how much is your house worth? Actually, it's uncertain. For example, the community you live in has 100 suites. 2 sets were recently sold. Average price 5 million. Everyone will assume that each suite is worth 5 million. The total value of the community is 500 million. But the premise of this price is that only 2 suites are sold. Suppose 20 people sell houses. Even 200 people sell houses. Because market supply increases. House prices will fall. Although I am not sure how much it will fall. But it will definitely be lower than the current price. So the 5 million you see now, just book value, cannot be fully honored. If everyone wants to cash in, house prices will fall. This is the illusion of wealth. Let's talk about bank deposits. Looks like a definite number. But there is a risk behind it. It's just that you may not be able to withdraw so much money. Because modern money is credit money. Banks use a fractional reserve system. For example, if you deposit 100 yuan in cash, the bank can lend you 80 yuan. Deposit the 80 yuan into the bank. I can lend another 60 yuan. Repeatedly. Finally, he can create 5 times or 8 times. Even 10 times the deposit. In other words, money in our bank account. Most of them are represented by numbers. There isn't actually that much cash in the bank. If all customers of this bank everyone goes to withdraw cash no matter how big a bank is, it will collapse immediately. Our money will be in vain. This is also an illusion of wealth. Combine book value and credit currency. Summed up as the illusion of wealth. The illusion of wealth in the economy played both good and evil roles. Look on the bright side. Whether it is housing appreciation or is it an increase in credit money, often bring economic growth. Because people think their wealth has increased. Will expand consumption. Stimulate production. Create more products. Look on the bad side. Added by book value and currency. The illusion of wealth. Easy to spawn economic bubbles. Causes economic problems when the bubble bursts. Even economic crisis. According to Yuan Shu's words. The birth and death of the illusion of wealth. The driving force behind the economic cycle. Make the economy driven by scientific and technological progress. Continuous development and ripples of fluctuations. It seems like this. The illusion of wealth can do us good. It may also cause harm. Today I will interpret this book for you from 3 aspects. How the first wealth illusion created. How the second wealth illusion boosts economic growth. How the third wealth illusion created the economic crisis. I will explain to you finally. Under the influence of the illusion of wealth. What is the contradiction between personal profit and social control? How the illusion of wealth affects our economic lives. Watch the first part first. How does the illusion of wealth arise? I gave an example of community housing earlier. Let you know the existence of this phenomenon. But not deep enough. Next, I will introduce you to its principles and important features. You only need to remember one keyword: marginal pricing. can grasp the key point of this problem. What is marginal pricing? Margin means the latest on the edge. For example, we just said when calculating house prices in a community. In fact, we only look at the price of the most recently sold house. Let's say it's 5 million. We assume that the house price of the entire community is 5 million. This is called marginal pricing. Give another example. On the stock market, we often hear, how many billions is the worth of a certain richest man? How much has the market value of a certain company exceeded? This is also marginal pricing. Because these wealth or market value, that is, the price of the latest traded stock is used to calculated by multiplying the number of shares. In fact, strictly speaking, all prices are marginal pricing. For example, the price of pork is 20 yuan per pound. The price of a haircut is 30 yuan a time. It is also marginal pricing. It refers to the latest price, just traded, rather than the prices 3 to 5 years ago. But the difference is commodities like housing stocks, because it has been used or held for a long time, and can be used as an investment. So compared to consumer products like pork haircuts. One more attribute. Book effect. What is the book effect? It's talking about investments like housing stocks. When you see the price they are trading at in the market, will be based on market price. Estimate. What is the book value of your own home stock? Compare buying prices. See if you have made a profit or a loss. This is the book effect. And consumer products like pork instant noodles. No matter whether the price goes up or down, you don't even calculate its book value. There is no book effect. This is an important difference between assets and general commodities. Because of the book effect and marginal pricing, will make asset prices in certain markets easily manipulated. A situation of ups and downs occurs. For example, around 2021 there will be a digital currency rose from $10,000 to $60,000. Dropped to $30,000 again. It only took more than half a year. Actually, only a very small part of the total volume is actually traded. But it can drive the rise and fall of the entire valuation. This is what marginal pricing does. This is a major feature of the investment products market. It is also a manifestation of the illusion of wealth. Besides, another source of the illusion of wealth is an increase in credit money. We know the basic characteristics of modern currency are its distribution is not restricted by technology, by printing money, or mark electronic account books to expand quickly. Not only does the central bank have unlimited ability to create money, generally banks can also increase money through credit. Simply put, assume that the bank only has 100 million yuan in capital, and a real estate company wants to lend him 200 million yuan. Banks don't need to come from anywhere else. Get a deposit of 100 million. He doesn't need to use the 100 million savings plus the previous 100 million capital. Raise together 200 million to make a loan for this company. He just needs the account of the real estate company. An increase of 200 million yuan on both sides of the balance sheet at the same time. Plus the figure of 200 million yuan. That's it. As a result, not only will the bank not reduce capital, on the contrary, it will increase the asset size to 300 million yuan. This is the advantage of banks. You can ignore the accounting details here. Just remember the conclusion. Banks can issue loans without deposits. It can create deposits and loans out of thin air as a new payment method. These new payment methods, the author of the book calls it bank credit. He doesn't agree with treating them as currency because these deposits and loans created by electronic accounting, there is always a risk of a run. Assume that depositors withdraw cash at the same time. The bank will go bankrupt. So he regards bank credit as an illusion of wealth. Bank credit and accounts surface effects combined will produce many strange phenomena in the economy. I use a fictitious story to explain what's so strange about it. For example, Jong San has a house and wants to sell it. Quote 2 million. But no buyer. At this time Lee Sai found Jong San willing to buy this house. But the contract is required to state that the price is 3 million. Jong San agreed. Then Lee Sai found an evaluation agency. Request an appraisal of the house's value at 3 million yuan. Willing to pay 10,000 yuan for evaluation fee. The assessment agency also agreed. Then Lee Sai took the house purchase contract and appraisal report. Go to the bank for a mortgage loan. The bank loaned Lee Sai 2.1 million yuan at 70% of the appraised value. Lee Sai used 2 million yuan to pay for the house. Use another 10,000 yuan to pay the appraisal fee. Got a surplus of 90,000 yuan. If house prices rise next year, Lee Sai can sell the house. Pay off bank loan. Make another profit. If house prices fall, Lee Sai just doesn't care. Leave the house to the banker. Still made 90,000 yuan. Tell this fictional story. I'm not advocating learning from Lee Sai. Because his behavior is suspected of fraud. Will be punished. And it is not that simple for banks to evaluate assets. But this story can illustrate. In financial markets, asset-backed, banks can create loans, increase credit currency, and there is a lot of room for fluctuation in the price assessment of collateral. Its changes will result in book surplus or loss. Impact on the economy. That is to say, when the price of financial collateral increases, both the bank and the mortgagor will feel profitable. Increase borrowing. Full of confidence in the future. But when its book price falls, will cause loan default. Credit crunch. Market sentiment is in the doldrums. Know this. It will be easier for you to understand what is going to be said next. What happened to the double-edged sword of the illusion of wealth? In the second part, let's look at finance first. Why the illusion of wealth can boost economic growth. This question has two sides. First, the impact of book value. Second, the role of bank credit. Let's talk about book value first. There is a special concept called the wealth effect, used to summarize the impact of asset prices on the economy. For example, the value of your stocks or real estate has increased. You'll feel like your savings have increased. Life is rich. I have the confidence to spend money. Just like when the stock market goes up. We will hear people say that I have made money recently by trading stocks. I'll treat you to a big dinner later. This means that the willingness to consume is increasing. If everyone has this tendency, can drive more output, bring economic growth. Another example, when many people start a business, I will use my house as collateral to get a bank loan. The higher the property price, the more funds you can borrow, the stronger the investment ability. This principle is not complicated, but this is still not specific enough. This book analyzes the operations of local government. Complete description of book value and credit currency. The entire process of promoting economic growth. Let me introduce it to you. Let's first talk about the role of local debt. The author thinks local government develops economy. There are three important ways: investment promotion, government borrowing, and land transfer. If there is not enough investment, local governments can lend for urban construction and public expenditures. In this process, can prompt banks to create credit money, promote GDP growth. Author's example: assume that the government of a certain place borrow 10 billion from the bank used to pay the salaries of civil servants in infrastructure construction, as well as expenditures by hospitals, schools and other departments. Fund transfer through bank. What impact will it have on the economy? Author analysis. First, the government borrows money will enable banks to create 10 billion in deposits and loans. That is to say, an increase in credit currency. The government then pays the money to infrastructure. Departmental civil service includes teachers, doctors, etc. These departments are spending money on catering and entertainment, beauty salon and other consumption. And there will be purchases and transactions between these departments. For example, a civil servant goes to buy a house. Workers' children go to school, teachers go to see doctors, etc. The final GDP created. It could be several times the original government loan. That is to say, local governments rely on debt to expand spending. Will become the income of other departments. For example, the public sector, infrastructure sector, catering and entertainment sector, etc. All make money. Government taxes will also increase. Create a situation where everyone is happy. This is the promoting effect of credit currency on the economy. We can also put then combine credit currency and book effect. See the positive impact of wealth illusion on the economy. The author thinks land is also an important source of revenue for local governments. Let's just follow the author's analysis. Have a look here. How does the government obtain income from selling land? What impact will it have on the economy? First, the author assumes the government transfers a piece of land to the real estate department. Estimated value, 11 billion yuan. The real estate sector uses land as collateral for bank loans. Obtain 11 billion yuan of credit currency. Because the government wants to encourage development. There are often financial subsidies. The real estate sector only needs to transfer 10 billion to the government. It's enough to leave 1 billion for real estate development. After the government gets 10 billion, 5 billion invested in infrastructure construction, 5 billion for public sector expenditures. After people in the infrastructure and civil service departments get the money, in addition to daily consumption, I will also use part of the money as a down payment. Then get a loan from the bank, and buy a house from the real estate department. So will people in other departments. This makes credit money increase again. The real estate department sells houses. Not only can you repay the bank loan with interest, can also generate a surplus. In this process, real estate department, infrastructure department, and the GDP created by each sector will be much larger than the original loan. The bank is also very satisfied. Author analysis. In this context, if house prices rise, the government will have the opportunity to obtain higher land transfer fees, or obtain more loans by mortgaging land, and people in the infrastructure, construction department, and other departments of the public sector. The value of the house I bought has increased. They will feel richer, save more. At the same time, the real estate sector has opportunities to earn higher profits, and the bank, because of the appreciation of the mortgaged property. Business conditions improved. Everyone will benefit from rising house prices. The author thinks this will encourage more property development, increase the number of properties, and stimulate the development of many industries. For example, the upstream of real estate includes cement, steel, non-ferrous metals. Building a house requires buying engineering equipment. Decorate after buying a house. Need to purchase decoration materials such as tiles and planks. Also buy refrigerators, TVs, air conditioners and other appliances. Some new developments are in suburban areas. Increased demand for cars. Even industries like power generation and gas. There will also be an increase in demand for electric heating. And rapid growth. Author analysis. The beginning of it all. Loans from banks to the real estate sector. Or rather, it is a credit currency created by the government using land mortgages. And its further expansion. It is the book benefit caused by the increase in house prices. So the illusion of wealth under certain conditions can promote economic development and social prosperity. The author also reminds us the illusion of wealth promotes economic growth. It is a positive feedback process. That is to say, rising asset prices make people feel wealthier. So increase consumption. Promote production. And you can get a mortgage loan. Let banks create more money. Further push up asset prices. This is a process that becomes increasingly self-reinforcing. But if the process is terminated, positive feedback will develop in the opposite direction. That is the other side of the double-sided blade. Illusion of wealth can cause economic crisis. To understand this process, the most important thing is to understand why economic growth encounters limits, and how the economic downturn is self-reinforcing. Next, I will continue to introduce you to the third part. Speaking of wealth illusion creating economic crisis. Let me add here first. The illusion of wealth promotes economic growth. In fact, there is an implicit condition. It means there is spare capacity for production in the economy. The remainder is the remainder. Production spare capacity. It is labor and resources that are not fully utilized. For example, the economic system is unreasonable. The level of science and technology is relatively backward. Insufficient effective market demand, etc. will result in the existence of surplus production capacity. It represents a certain degree of waste of resources. It also represents the growth potential of the economy. In other words, there are many ways and motivations for economic growth, including reforming the system and developing science and technology. The reason why the illusion of wealth promotes economic growth. In fact, it is through the book effect and credit. Increase in money. Increased market demand. But no matter what, Economic growth is limited under certain conditions. The economy cannot grow indefinitely. In other words, at technical level, with limited natural resources and labor, the economy has a possibility frontier. Represents the economy's maximum potential. When the illusion of wealth and the positive feedback of economic growth, when you hit this invisible boundary, will be bounced back like hitting a wall. What's more serious is economic growth driven by the illusion of wealth, often with financial bubbles. When it bounces and falls, as the bubble bursts, it will become even more violent. So how does the bubble come about? The key is the financial market. Positive feedback from the field. People's judgments about financial assets. It is often based on its past price trends. Investment products that rise more. The more people think about it, so rush to buy, further increase its price. And this process, it's the book effect, linked to credit currency. For example, when the stock market and property market rise, to make more money, many people will mortgage their stocks or houses to banks, use more loans to buy a house, or trade in stocks, make the price higher. Therefore, many issues are involved when financial market bubbles burst, often become the fuse of economic crisis. Let's take the 1990s Japan's economic recession as an example. Come and see how the illusion of wealth creates economic crises. The first is the foam bedding. Actually, most economic crises precede. There was a period of prosperity. And there is fundamental support. For example, in Japan in the 1980s, because commodity exports are highly competitive, I have a lot of foreign exchange deposits. Become the world's largest debt country. At the same time, his stock market and buildings are also rising. Book effect on asset prices. People think it is easy to make money by buying stocks and buying houses. So, attracting more funds into the stock market and property market. These include a large number of mortgage loans. Driven by credit money. Asset prices surge rapidly. From 1986 to 1991, Japanese real estate prices continued to rise. Land prices in the Tokyo area soared by more than 90% around 1987. There was a popular saying at the time, it's just a land price in Tokyo. Can buy the whole United States. The Nikkei index rose from over 13,000 points in 1985. Rose to nearly 39,000 points in 1989. Tripled in 4 years. At this time, the driving force and atmosphere of Japan's economic growth changed. Originally, people made money by producing goods for export. Now it depends on the rise in housing prices and stock prices. Stock trading and buying a house have become a success. The hotly discussed shortcut to getting rich. Then the bubble bursts. Financial bubbles burst mostly suddenly. In Japan, the central bank wanted to control the bubble. Raise interest rates from 2% to over 4%. To suppress the growth of borrowing. Remove support for rising asset prices. Because interest rates have increased. Means the cost of borrowing increases. Results January 1990. Control begins to take effect. The Nikkei index fell rapidly. It fell from nearly 40,000 points to more than 25,000 points in October of that year. It fell again to 14,309 points in August 1992. A drop of more than 60%. Real estate prices also dropped sharply. It fell by more than 90% at most. This is when the illusion of wealth backfired. Mentioned earlier. Asset price changes are affected by marginal pricing. A very small number of transactions can affect the price of the entire market. For example, a few houses can affect the housing prices of the entire community. A small portion of stocks can determine the direction of the entire market. The characteristic of financial assets is that they can be bought up, but not down. Falling prices can cause selling. There will also be debt defaults. Because asset prices cannot cover debt. Many people will give up on repayment. The loan becomes a bad debt. Banks not only dare not lend anymore, also need to sell the collateral, further exacerbating the imbalance between supply and demand, causing prices to plummet. What will happen next is the impact on the real economy. First, banks suffered serious losses, even on the verge of bankruptcy. Because there are too many bad debts. The collateral is no longer worth anything. The non-performing debt of Japanese financial institutions at that time. There are 100 trillion yen. Billions of dollars ended up being bad debts. In this way, banks will stop or reduce lending, breaking the normal flow of corporate funds, make business operations difficult, especially when the real estate bubble bursts, causing a large number of unfinished buildings to appear. Construction industry takes a hit. Serious negative impact on upstream and downstream industries. More importantly, falling asset prices will reduce corporate capital. Bankruptcy and insolvency have caused many people to lose their jobs. In addition, due to the sharp decline in housing prices and stock prices, people feel their wealth has shrunk. Therefore, consumption is reduced and demand is reduced, leading to a downturn in all walks of life. There are even many rich people who are heavily in debt. Of course, this is the negative part of the debt. Due to great economic pressure, suicide rates soared, became a social phenomenon at that time. More importantly, when the stock and real estate bubble inflated, banks place high valuations on corporate assets and issue loans. And after the price crash, corporate liabilities have not decreased. Assets have shrunk significantly. So I was burdened with a heavy debt burden. To pay off debt. The goal of business operations is to maximize profits. Shift to debt minimization. No more business expansion. This is after the asset bubble bursts. Japan's economy remained stagnant for a long time. An important reason for being called the lost 20 years. This book thinks by book effect and credit. The illusion of wealth made of money is the root cause of economic fluctuations. Due to the positive feedback mechanism of the illusion of wealth, it has instability that is difficult to eliminate. This instability caused the ups and downs of economic development. Of course, all this happens in the course of time. And mathematically, all systems containing time variables, dynamical system. So the author calls this theory economic dynamics. What inspiration does Guyu's book have for us? I want to say it from two aspects. The impact of the illusion of wealth on our real lives. Why buy a house in the first place? Has become a hot topic in economic life. Now for many people, Besides work, the most important economic activity is investment and financial management. And in investment activities, many people are concerned about buying a house. Houses and house prices. Often it can become a hot topic. Why is this? This is because under the system of credit money, some people will lack trust in currency. There is an expectation of price increases. So we look for savings methods other than money. To combat inflation. Some people buy gold. Some people buy stocks. Some people buy cultural relics, and so on. And from a practical point of view, over the past 20 years, housing is a reliable means of maintaining and increasing value. Especially those who buy houses in key cities. Book wealth has grown significantly. And many people believe housing prices in these places will continue to rise. Therefore, some people pay special attention to buying a house. Second, why does the country repeatedly emphasize that housing is for living, not for speculation? We can all see with individuals passionate about investing in real estate. In sharp contrast, in recent years, China has repeatedly emphasized the positioning of housing for living, not speculation. And launched a series of measures to restrict non-owner-occupied home purchases. For example, it is required to pay Social Security for a certain number of years. Increase the down payment ratio for buying 2 or more houses. It is prohibited to speculate on buying more houses by using fake divorces. Wait, why is this? The most fundamental point here. In fact, I have already explained it before. We are worried about the formation of a real estate bubble. From the lessons of countries around the world, real estate bubble burst will have a serious negative impact on the economy. Just like Japan's lesson learned earlier. Because real estate involves many industries accounting for a large portion of most people's property. Once it crashes will form a domino effect causing heavy damage to the economy. Therefore, the government attaches great importance to this issue. Always be on high alert. It seems like this it is under the influence of the illusion of wealth that conflicts arise between individuals and society. From a personal perspective, chase wealth through market transactions. It's natural and reasonable. But from a social perspective, public policy prevent situations that endanger public interests. It is also very necessary. This just represents the two aspects of the illusion of wealth. Thank you. See you next time.